Okay, Friday forecast time. Sean Callahan here. Sean, let's talk about this game and what it means. Obviously, not many people are giving Nebraska a chance against Wisconsin. Wisconsin has won 5 in a row against the Huskers. They've won 6 of 7 since joining the Big Ten. Does Nebraska have a chance against the Badgers?
Well, the Badgers are the class of the league. They're at home. They're at night. So conventional wisdom is probably not. I mean, but then you look back at the last 3 meetings, and Nebraska has played these guys pretty tough. Last year they were tied in the fourth quarter. The year before they lost in Camp Randall at night in overtime, and arguably should have won that game. And then they definitely should have won the last meeting here before that in Lincoln, Mike Riley's first year, when Gaglione hit the field goal to win the game in the final second. So the last 3 meetings have been awfully close, where I think from the outside you feel like Wisconsin's so much further ahead of Nebraska, but they have played this team tougher than I think most people realize when you study the last 3 meetings.
Let's look about the depth chart changes. There's a whole bunch of them for the Huskers. Just fill us in on those.
I think some of the big ones on the offensive line, Tanner Farmer listed at center. A lot of that's Cole Conrad's injury, but I do think he played really well at center with Bo Wilson at guard. That produced a much higher yard per play average with that group than we saw before. So that will be what it looks like they go with. Cade Warner now number 1 at that receiver in the offense over Mike Williams. Mike Williams still will play a lot, but Warner has kind of taken that. And I think his blocking, Andy, has played as big of a factor. And I think that got Mike Williams to block harder just because of the competition that they created with that spot, because the blocking on the edge is the difference, as you heard Scott Frost earlier this week talk about some of these big runs. And they were not blocking well on the edge early on in the year. Defensively, Will Honus off the depth chart, out for the season, will be able to redshirt at linebacker. But then you see Mick Stoltenberg off the depth chart because he is injured as well. May come back this year, hard to say, but the biggest one still remains Lamar Jackson. No longer number 1 for Nebraska, listed as the number 2 behind Eric Lee after being benched. It's unknown if we'll see Lamar Jackson play much in this game.
Yeah, Scott Frost saying he's going to play guys that do it the right way, and referencing Cade Warner when he was asked about it on Monday, saying maybe a guy doesn't have as much talent per se, but they do it the right way, and he wants to go to battle with those guys. About Nebraska in terms of penalties, 11 more on Saturday. That's 42 in 4 games, and that just got to drive Scott Frost nuts, as he showed after.
Well, and these aren't 5-yard penalties. 7 of those 11, Andy, were the 15-yard variety. So when you get 15-yard penalties 7 times, I don't care who you are, the statistics show you're not going to probably win the game. And Nebraska, we joked, they've outgained their opponent this year in 3 of their 4 losses.
Yeah, right.
But when you get awful field position on special teams, you get penalized a lot, that really leads to Nebraska having to have longer fields to score points, which is why their yard totals have been higher than the opponent, and they're losing these games still.
And in terms of buy-in and what needs to happen to win a game like this at Wisconsin, you got to stop Jonathan Taylor. I think that's priority number 1. But this is another one of those front 7 games, as Mohammed Berry liked to say. This is going to be a tough task.
Yeah, and the run fits need to be there, and that has been a problem for Nebraska, whether it's the linebackers or the safeties. I think the defensive line at times has done their job, but those linebackers and the safeties have missed key run fits, which have led to huge gains on just simple ISO-type runs like Michigan and Purdue had the last 2 weeks. So Nebraska needs to be fundamentally sound. Everybody knows what Wisconsin's going to do. They don't really disguise the play that well. They just run it better than you could stop it. And Nebraska has had a hard time, as we know, stopping those plays over the years.
But when they do throw it, Alex Hornibrook is a guy that Nebraska has proven over the years to get to. They've created some interception opportunities against this Wisconsin team. If they could get one of those early, I think that changes the whole complexion of the game.
And they can get to him. I mean, he's not a mobile guy. And I do think Alex Hornibrook's a Sunday quarterback. He'll get a shot in the NFL. All Wisconsin starters really get shots because of the offense they play in. It's geared for the league. But they've had success against Hornibrook. He's played some really good football, though, like his last time out against Iowa. I mean, I go back to the bowl game win in Miami against the Hurricanes. He can put together one of those 300-yard passing games if the running game is not there. But with Jonathan Taylor, the running game is usually going to always be there for the Badgers.
Yeah, and Alex Hornibrook has been especially effective in that fourth quarter. Moving forward, though, finally, Nebraska just needs some tangible evidence and why this is moving the right way? Don't they need some kind of success on the field to get these guys fully saying, yeah, this is what the hard work is all about, because we're getting results? It's just got to be a tough deal to be inside that locker room at this time.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing to wrap your arms around, because Nebraska shouldn't be 0-4. I don't care who nobody would say that this is an 0-4 team. You look at the schedule; they've been favored, in three of those 5 games, and you count the Akron game that got taken away. They should have been favored against Purdue, but because of their poor start, they were dogs last week. But this is not an 0-4 football team, and that's the most frustrating thing, I think, for everybody, from the fans to the players to Coach Frost.
Well, we'll see what happens. They are a 3-touchdown underdog and then some as Nebraska heads into Madison, Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. That game's a 6:30 kick. It's on the Big Ten Network.